Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we are going to be restoring this vintage Micronauts Time Traveler figure. Now, I was recently sent this by Heath, and I have to say I've never seen a figure in quite this condition. It has some fairly common issues, like the O-ring is broken and the little T-bar that's supposed to hold the legs together, that has snapped and sort of perished over the years. But this one has some really serious damage to his head. In fact, you can see most of the head is missing. I'm not quite sure how that would have happened, and maybe at some point someone has also put some monochrome pen on that just to sort of try and make it look half decent. But yeah, he is really in a very sorry state. So today we are going to get this figure back up and displayable again, and I'll show you all the techniques I use to do that. With Micronauts, you often find them broken in this sort of state. So over the years I have started keeping a little box of spare parts and other broken Micronauts. So this is my sort of spares box, and in it you'll find all sorts of things that are in sort of fairly similar condition to this. Often when you find a Micronaut, as I say, they are pretty damaged. So this one here is actually one that I put together recently, so he's not in too bad condition. He's still missing a few pieces like hands and a foot, but we can use some of this to fix this one up, because this guy is missing a foot, so I'll probably take the foot off this one. But then we have others with other very common issues, like the bottoms of the legs are missing. You see there's supposed to be a little post on that. If I show you another one, there's supposed to be a little sort of pip like that, little post, which is what the foot clicks onto. And I have other videos showing you how to make those out of Lego whip antennas. But yeah, this is my sort of box of bits, and I will go into this to find what I can to help rebuild this guy. So I think if we go into this bag, this is my sort of spare parts bag and sort of spare pieces, because you can see we need to find a head. So let's go in this bag and see what we've got. I think I can see a head there. Actually, there is a pretty reasonable head. That is a normal Micronauts Time Traveler head with lots of chrome missing on it, so we can use that one to fix this guy up. We'll have to re-chrome it, but that's a good starting point. Now, I don't have any of the T-bars that hold the legs together, but that shouldn't be a problem, because we can actually make one of those out of a G.I. Joe T-bar. The T-bars are slightly different on these figures. They don't look like G.I. Joe ones, but they are close enough that you can modify a G.I. Joe one to get it to work. So I think all I do actually need is this head, so we can now start taking this figure to pieces and seeing about reconstructing him and re-chroming some bits. So let's start with his legs, and if you work with the G.I. Joe figures at all, the construction of these is incredibly similar. The two legs are held together with a little T-bar that has a hook on the top of it. That goes onto an O-ring which goes into the body and sort of through the pelvis and holds that in place. It's an incredibly sort of simple construction, but works really well. It gives it a lot of mobility to the figure, and as I say, G.I. Joes are constructed in the same way. So on this, the T-bar has perished. They are made out of metal, and the metal just tends to corrode and fall apart. So we've got the ends of the posts are still in the legs here, but the middle part with the actual hook on it is missing. So let me show you what an original Micronauts T-bar should look like, and that is that. I've just taken this out of another figure. It is incredibly close to a G.I. Joe T-bar. In fact, I'm going to bring in a G.I. Joe one now so you can see how close they are. The difference really is that the hook on a G.I. Joe T-bar is slightly angled off to one side. These ones are flat, but you can actually easily just bend those, just get a pair of pliers and bend it. The other difference is that the balls on the end of the post are slightly larger on a Micronauts one, so you can see that there's a slight difference there, but that is easy to fix as well. If you drop a bit of super glue onto the ball of the T-bar, the G.I. Joe T-bar, and then sprinkle on some baking powder, it goes rock solid. And you do that a few times just to sort of build up the ball, and then you can file it down. So here is a G.I. Joe T-bar that I have modified. So this has just got some super glue and baking powder on it. I've also flattened out the hook so that it's now sort of in line with the bar itself, and this is a perfect replacement for the T-bar. So I'll bring in the original one again just so you can see the two together. So that's an original Micronauts T-bar, and this is a modified G.I. Joe one, and that can now go in the figure. It just takes a little bit of filing and sort of sanding to get the balls to the right size. You can see if I hold those next to each other, they are pretty close, and the figure will stand up just as well as it did originally. It's very hard to find these original T-bars. They do perish, and I don't know of anyone that makes reproductions of them. So the G.I. Joe T-bars are the next place to go. You can get these really easily off eBay. People sell packs of them for very little money, so it's worth getting them. In fact, I have a whole bag of them here which I use for fixing G.I. Joes, but they also come in very handy for fixing Micronauts. So let's fit this new T-bar to the legs. So it's exactly the same as on the G.I. Joes. The top of the leg is held together by one screw. All you have to do is undo that screw. The inner part of the leg should come away like that. If I just get my nail in, and we can then access where we have to put the new T-bar. So that is the remnants of the old T-bar. It just completely has perished, and we're just left with that little piece of metal there. So we get the new T-bar, which is this one here. We can hook that in to the hole like so. Get the rest of the leg, pop that on, and screw the leg on. We'll do the same on the other side, and then we can put that over the pelvis, and that's the first part of this figure back together. You can see that fits in really nicely, still got full mobility. So we'll do the same on the other leg. Again, just undo this screw, take out the old remnants of the T-bar. We can hook this new one in, and then screw the leg back together. Now, before we sort out the rest of the body, we need to sort out the chrome on his head. So this is the head that I'm going to replace it with, and you can see it's got rather a lot of chrome missing. In fact, if you collect Micronauts, you will see them in all sorts of states. I'm just going to bring in a few here with various amounts of chrome missing and sort of various colours of plastic. So you can see this guy has got a white, sort of yellow plastic underneath. This one has a darker blue colour. Again, this is another white one, but all of them have chrome wear. This is incredibly common on these figures. You'll find that the chest pieces don't seem to suffer with chrome wear, but the heads always look like this. So today what I'm going to do to fix that is to use some Stuart Semple mirror chrome. I've shown before using a Molotow liquid chrome, and in fact I've actually had a couple properly chrome plated with metal, but I prefer this stuff. This paint is quite expensive. I think this bottle is about £30, but it goes an incredibly long way, and you'll have seen me use it on all sorts of projects. It gives a really nice finish, and it's really easy to apply. So we're going to use this to chrome this head up and make it look as good as new. You just need to shake it a lot. It's a solvent based, so I've got some white spirit here to clean my brush with. Goes on incredibly easy, and within about half an hour it will be sort of ready to use and touch dry, so you can easily apply it and you won't sort of damage the chrome finish. So yeah, this is my preferred paint at the moment. It just gives a really nice chrome finish. So let's apply this, and then we can get the rest of the figure back together. Right, I had a little bit of an accident now. I poured out more of the mirror chrome than I was expecting, and I didn't want it to go to waste, so rather than just letting it go off in this mixing pot, I've got out all of the rest of my busted up Micronauts Time Travelers, and I've been rechroming all of the heads. So you can see here there's a lot of figures all waiting for the paint to dry now, but I thought it was better to do that than waste the paint, as yeah, it is quite expensive. So yeah, a whole load of Micronauts Time Travelers have now been rechromed. Now the chrome has had time to dry, we can go ahead and put this figure back together. So as I say, it is exactly like a G.I. Joe figure. There's a screw on the back, so if we just unscrew that, you can get inside and we can access where the O-ring should be. We can also swap his head. The only slight difference in these figures is there is a piece of rubber that goes between the arms to add a little bit of friction. And it's actually sort of quite a useful sort of addition, because it does mean the arms actually stay in place. So if we just open this up, you'll see exactly what I mean. There is a piece of rubber that goes between the two arms. Sometimes this is sort of perished or missing missing, but often it is in pretty good condition. It also helps keep the head in place. You can see there's a little notch cut out of the top of it, so we'll just leave those arms in place because we don't need to do anything with those. There is the smashed up head. I'll keep that just for sort of future reference. It's not going to be of any use, but you know, it's just nice to keep these things just to remind me of what I've fixed. So we can take the head here and we can just drop that into the little gap there, so that fits back in place. And now we need to attach an O-ring, but it actually looks like the original O-ring is still there on the back of this. Is that any good? You know what it is, it hasn't perished at all. So it must have been the T-bar that broke on this one. The O-ring is still in good condition, but again, you can just replace these with the same sort that you would use for G.I. Joe. So I have a replacement one here. These are, if I measure them, they're about sort of 1.3 millimeters in diameter. You can get these from most hardware stores, or if you're buying the sort of repair kits for G.I. Joes that include the T-bars, often they include a whole load of those. In this instance, I think I might as well use the original one because it's there. It still seems in pretty good condition. It's nice to keep this all original. So we need to put the legs together. We have to put the O-ring over the little hook there. We can then thread that through the pelvis, like so. So we'll put this onto the body. We'll actually put it onto the back of the body. That's where the thicker post is. So we can just hook that over. Hopefully it will stay in place. Oh, it's not playing ball today. No, it's not. Do you know what? I'm going to actually swap that O-ring. This O-ring has got a bit of a shape to it, and it looks like it just doesn't want to stay in the right position. So let's swap that out for a new O-ring. Makes very little difference. But if we just grab a new O-ring there, pop that on. And thread that through the pelvis again. Now we'll put that over the post and see if that stays in place. There we go, that one's staying in place. And now we can get the rest of the body. So we'll just put the arms and the front back on, like so. And I can then just push that head through the neck post hole like that. There you go, that's all back together. Now we just have to put the screw in the back of this figure. So there we go, that is the figure back together. We need to sort out his foot. The feet are the hardest part to find on Micronauts. The feet and the hands always go missing. I always seem to have a lot of hands spare, but for some reason the feet are generally just a little bit harder to find. They come in two pieces, so you've got this sort of a bit that looks a little bit like a sock that goes on first, and then you have the foot. I have seen a few reproductions of these over the years, and they're okay. I think there's some 3D printed ones available, but really I prefer trying to find an original if I can. It does take a little bit longer, but you can see it makes quite a big difference to the figure to have an original foot on it. The final thing to do is to put his gold chest piece in. There are 4 different designs of this chest piece, and they come in 4 different sort of chrome colours. I've got a few other ones here that are spare, but I'm going to stick with the one it came with just to keep it as original as it sort of can be. So that just clips on there. And then the final accessory that this thing needs, these Micronauts only came with one accessory, is this tiny little post here, this L-shaped post, and this clicks in the back. And this was designed so that it enables you to fit these into various sort of vehicles. They clip into the vehicles like that. He didn't come with any other accessory, so that is all you need to complete him. And there we go. We now have a time traveler ready to go back on display.
toy-polloi.
And here we go, here is the finished blue time traveller back with his friends. There's something about these figures that I just really like. I love the clear plastic that's been used on them, and once you've got them all lined up with their sort of chrome pieces and metallic looking parts, I just think they look fantastic. And with this figure, he needed a little bit of work and a little bit of repair, but as you can see, we've ended up with a really nice looking figure. These are really fun figures to fix up, but sometimes finding parts for them can be a little bit tricky, so using G.I. Joe parts is a good thing to do, but often it's just a case of time, and keep sort of looking for broken versions of them, because after a while you'll get enough pieces that you can rebuild one from those pieces, and that's exactly what I do. I have my sort of case of broken Micronauts, and every once in a while I have enough pieces to rebuild a new figure, so it's worth sort of spending time when you're collecting these, just sort of collecting broken ones. And if you want to know about the stands that I'm using here to hold these figures up, then I have a video on that. I will put a link to that in the description. And if you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.